Hey everyone, it's Evan here from the Trade Risk on Wednesday, May 16th. We're intraday right now, and we're going to walk through a few trade setups, a few trade ideas that I'm paying attention to that I think might be interesting for your watch list. As always, the usual disclaimer, do your own due diligence on these setups, mainly check earnings dates, make sure it fits your trading strategy and plan. I try and share some ideas that aren't overextended or haven't run for multiple days in a row, that are fairly set up for a potential breakout or pullback, or something to that effect that still has some time for you to get in. I'm not in any of these names at the time of recording this. So I got 7 names we're going to walk through, 4 from my watch list and 3 from our partners over at Investors Business Daily. So let's jump into the first one here. It is IOVA. So here's a smaller cap biotech name here, and you can see it is emerging today on some pretty good volume after going sideways for a little over a month, almost 2 months in fact, right in this sideways range right here. So I like this potential sort of day one breakout. We can see it's emerging from this consolidation since the beginning of April. If we go to a weekly time frame, you can see it's in a nice uptrend here. It is pulled off of the highs, and now it is trying to break above these highs here. So I like this setup. It's one that I'm paying attention to here into the close. No position at this time, but am strongly considering a trade in IOVA. So that's our first. Number 2 here is KSS. This is Kohl's Corporation, and retail has been hot recently, and this one here is getting to the top end of this consolidation since really the beginning of the year. It's shown some pretty good relative strength, just trading in between this 59 and the highs here up around $68, $69. So about a 10-point range. It does have earnings in a couple of weeks. You can see it is heading to the top end of this range, slightly higher volume already, given the fact we are intraday. But for those of you who are maybe interested in playing a continued run up into earnings, this is something to consider. It's got a nice pattern here. It is up already now 3 or 4 days in a row, so just be aware that it is coming into resistance after a little bit of a run. It does have earnings coming up, but I think it's an interesting setup, particularly on that longer term time frame. So that's KSS. Next up, I got RIO here. This is basic materials name. You can see it is breaking out today from a multi-week pattern. The weekly chart, I think, speaks a little bit clearer here, and we can see this resistance going all the way back to the start of this year, right around $58. You can see we're starting to clear above it this week so far. If we go back to that daily chart, we have a gap and potentially go on our hands here, as we haven't quite looked back to fill this gap. It is, maybe a little near term overstretched here, but there's some volume coming in. It is clearing some technical resistance. So maybe if you're playing this on a longer term time frame, you'd wait for that weekly close to see if it actually does hold on to these gains. But I think it's an interesting setup to pay attention to. A little bit of a momentum candidate there in the basic material names. So that is, oh, actually, and I have one more. I have RNG, which is a tech play software name. Ring Central here just reported earnings, had this nice gap higher here, and then it did kind of quickly fill it, but now it's quickly rebounding after this 3-day pullback here. So some good volume coming in recently after its event, and we are up today, kind of confirming yesterday's reversal. So if this is a name that is interested you, it's been a pretty strong performer over the past couple of years. Hasn't really offered too many deep dips in RNG. So if it's something that you like playing for these small, shallow pullbacks, maybe just a quick multi-day trade, something to think about here in RNG. So those are my names. Let's kick it over to IBD's list. These are coming from either their leadership lists, or their sector leadership lists, or their IBD 50 names, getting some pretty good ideas off of their lists recently. So I do encourage you guys to check them out. I do have a link in the description of this video. We are partnered up, and I am happy to share some of the stocks that they have been providing. So here is number one is ZBRA. This one here, I've talked about it a couple of times here. This had a nice high volume breakout, a gap and go kind of breakout here, and it is just moving very tight and sideways here for the past 5 or so days after breaking out. And you can see today it's threatening to get a new closing high here. It's been in a monster uptrend, recently emerging from this multi-week base here. So the weekly chart, kind of a beauty, as we saw this nice high volume breakout off of earnings, 15% last week, so far consolidating and trying to continue and extend those gains in this uptrend. So ZBRA, I do like that one there, shaping up for even today as a potential trade setup. Next up is GRUB. This one here, it's been a little loose and choppy. It's been just kind of showing some strong relative strength, hanging out near highs, but you can see it's kind of been dancing around here and not really making progress over the past couple of weeks. But we had this high volume day here, which maybe proved to be a good kind of short-term capitulation right underneath this $92 support area, $93 support area, which has really been in place since mid-February. And you can see we briefly kind of undercut it, we pushed back above it, and now we have about this 105 level, which I think if we can start making some progress, getting some follow through above this 105 level, we could very quickly be back to kind of trending to new highs. Earnings are out of the way here on GRUB, so something to pay attention to. Certainly not ready just yet. I mean, we do have a mini kind of maybe buy signal as we rallied above yesterday's highs and kind of looking to close strong. So if you're real active, maybe start a position. Again, it all depends on your strategy and time frame. I'd be looking for this to be more so above 106 or so, and that would give me some more confidence. And finally, last but not least, is BOFI. This one here, again, has been moving sideways, showing some good relative strength recently. Earnings are out of the way, and you can see it's just been moving sideways since the beginning of March, and we are getting a little bit tighter here. We got higher lows in place, we got lower highs in place, and we are coming to a decision point here soon, so I'm paying attention to it above $43, above $42.50. Really above this cluster, this supply in here, right above where we currently are trading, 50 cents or $1 above current prices, and we might be able to see a nice kind of breakout here in BOFI. So something to pay attention to, nice long-term uptrend that it's been in for multiple months, if not multiple years. So that's what I got for this week's trade ideas. Maybe a little under the radar names there, try and bring you some names that haven't quite fully extended themselves and you could perhaps pay attention to over the next coming days and weeks. So thanks so much for tuning in to our trade ideas video, and I will be back on Friday for the weekend market recap video. Thanks so much.